Hold on. I said I need to see those files immediately.
And I am telling you that is not possible without a court order. I need to see those documents immediately.
Miss Dr. Worthaldi.
These are protected health records. I cannot release them without a court order.
Slick, cold, echoing with a distant hum of sirens threading through the city's arteries. She unlocked her car. A sharp whistle cut the air. A patrol cruiser crawled to a stop behind her, blue strobe splashing color across her hands. She stiffened. Officer Hale stepped out, heavy boots slamming the ground, rain bouncing off his vest. He didn't look at her face, only at her skin. He said, palm resting on his holster. This isn't your vehicle. The line sliced through her. Precise. Practiced. A judgment passed before any evidence existed. It is, she answered, voice steady though her pulse hammered. I'm going home. Hale circled her car slowly, dragging his flashlight beam across the license plate, the windows, her ID badge clipped to her coat, even the stethoscope she still carried. His breath fogged the wet air. Stolen vehicles often come with props, he muttered. Need to run you in for verification. People outside the ER entrance paused. No one stepped closer. Bystander distance, its own form of violence. Liana swallowed the electric surge of fear twisting under her ribs. You're making a mistake. Hale stopped. The rain quieted. He tightened his grip on the cuffs. No, I'm correcting one. The cuffs snapped open, and in that split second, before they clamped shut, a black SUV screeched into the lot, its door flying open. Someone shouted her name. The moment froze, breathless, and the night tilted. Rain pattered harder against the overhang as Dr. Liana Mercer followed the yellow path markings toward a car, her scrub still damp from an earlier emergency spill. The hospital's night shift always left a weight in her bones, but tonight the atmosphere felt denser, charged, like the air held something she hadn't yet seen. She reached her sedan. The remote unlock chirped. She pulled the handle. Blue light snapped to life behind her. Step away from the vehicle. The voice cracked like a whip. She froze. Not again. Not tonight. Officer Hale approached with heavy, deliberate strides, one hand on his holster. His boots splashed through puddles, each slap of rubber and water hitting her nerves. This your car? He demanded. Yes. She kept her voice controlled. Registration. It's in the glove compartment. I can. Don't move. She swallowed. Officer, I just finished a 14-hour shift. I said don't move. He circled the car, scanning each detail as if hunting for justification. Hospital staff think they're above verification now, he muttered. That's not what I said. He stepped closer, breath sharp. You match a description. Her chest tightened. What description? Black female, dark coat, suspicious behavior in the lot. The way he said black carried the entire accusation. That could describe dozens of people who work here, she said. Congratulations. You're the one I found. A door opened at the ER entrance. A resident paused, watching. He didn't intervene, only hovered before slipping back inside. Hale unclipped his cuffs. The metallic click echoed. You resisting? I haven't done anything to resist. That's what they all say. Her pulse thudded in her ears. Officer, please, look at my badge. He didn't. Look at my badge, she repeated, louder this time, voice cracking through the rain. Hale flicked his eyes down. Then a slow smirk curled. Doctor, huh? Fancy. Still need to verify all this. It's my car, she insisted. You're out of line. You people always say that. He snapped. Like rules don't apply to you. The word sliced. She went still, completely still. Before he could grab her wrist, tires screeched. A black SUV swung into the lot, stopping diagonally across two spaces. From the passenger side, Deputy Hospital Director Marcus Lynn jumped out, calling her name. Dr. Mercer. Hale stiffened. Lynn strode over, water splashing with each step. Officer, she's a physician here. What is happening? Hale straightened his shoulders, defensive, verifying ownership. She's been here all day. Lynn's tone hardened. Release her. Hale hesitated a fraction too long. Now, Lynn barked. Hale clicked the cuffs back into place on his belt. Fine, but if the car turns out stolen, it's on you. It won't, Liana said. He shot her a look that promised he didn't consider this finished. Then he walked back to his cruiser, boots hitting the ground like gavel strikes. Lynn exhaled, tension easing from his posture. Are you all right? Yes, she answered too quickly. Just tired. You should report him, Lynn said. She nodded, though she wasn't sure she had the energy. As she opened her car door, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. One message. This isn't over. Rain slid down her neck. Her fingers went numb around the phone. She looked toward Hale's cruiser. The headlights were still pointed at her. The next morning, Dr. Liana Mercer stepped into the cardiology wing with the practiced composure of someone who had learned to fold fear into silence. But the hallway told her everything. 2 quick glances, hushed conversations clipped short the moment she passed. The tight smiles meant to look supportive but laced with discomfort. A nurse approached her gently. Dr. Mercer, heard about last night. Liana kept walking. Long night. Let's focus on rounds. The nurse hesitated. People are saying the officer thought you were. I know what they're saying. Her tone ended it. Inside the conference room, the team gathered for morning briefing. Liana took her seat. The chatter didn't resume. Instead, a thick quiet settled. Dr. Patel cleared his throat. You feeling okay? I have patience, she replied. That's all that matters. Patel exchanged a look with another physician, one of those quick, uncomfortable looks that said, I don't want to get involved. Liana had seen that look all her life. The chief medical administrator, Dr. Hovland, entered carrying a file. Before we start, he said, voice too smooth, I want to address something. He didn't look directly at her. The hospital was aware of an incident with law enforcement last night. Liana's jaw tightened. Hovland continued, given the sensitive nature, we advise you not to escalate it further. These things attract media attention. We must protect institutional stability. A wave of heat flashed through her. I was almost arrested in our parking lot for unlocking my own car, she said. And you want me to stay quiet? Hovland's smile thinned. We simply recommend caution. Filing formal complaints often creates unnecessary conflict. Unnecessary for whom? She asked quietly. A few heads lowered. No one answered. Hovland clasped the file shut. Let's move on. But her focus fractured during rounds. A resident misread a chart. Another fumbled an update. Their voices carried tension, guilt, the shame of witnesses who did nothing. Between cases, Dr. Patel caught up to her. Liana, look, we're worried about you. You're worried about the hospital, she said sharply. No, I'm worried you'll get buried in administrative pushback. Hale is connected. His precinct. I don't care who he knows. He lowered his voice. I'm telling you how the system works. She stopped. I know exactly how the system works. He sighed but didn't argue. By lunchtime, she retreated to her office, shutting the door before her hand could shake. The cuffs, the grip, the line, black female, suspicious behavior. It repeated like a pulse in her skull. She sank into her chair, pressing her palms against her eyes. A knock broke the silence. Come in, she said. Dr. Lynn stepped inside, holding 2 coffees. You didn't look all right this morning. I said I was fine. You said it like someone trying to convince themselves. He set a cup on her desk. Steam curled upward between them. Administration wants me quiet, she murmured. I know. Hovland told me. And you want me quiet too. No, Lynn said. I want you safe. She looked up sharply. He continued. Hale has pulled stunt before. The union shields him. If you file a report, they'll retaliate. They always do. So I let it go. I'm saying be strategic. She leaned back, exhaustion dragging at her voice. Every time something like this happens, people tell us to be strategic, careful, patient, and the people who hurt us stay in their jobs. Lynn didn't reply. His silence felt honest. At least, her phone buzzed on the desk. Another unknown number. Another message. You should have kept your mouth shut. Her breath hitched. She showed Lynn the screen. His eyes hardened. That's intimidation. And I'm supposed to ignore that too. No, he said. This crosses a line. She stared at the message again, cold prickling across her skin. I'm filing the report. And if the union comes after you, let them. Lynn hesitated. I can support you internally. Quietly. You don't owe me anything. That's not what this is about. She didn't push further. She didn't have the strength. Later that afternoon, while reviewing charts, she overheard two orderlies talking near the supply closet. Did you hear? One whispered. Officer Hale said she got aggressive with him. Seriously. That's what he told the precinct. Said she tried to rush him. Liana stepped into the doorway. Is that what he said? Both men froze. He lied, she said. Remember that before you repeat his words. They stayed, stunned. She walked away before they could respond. Her office phone rang an hour later. She answered with a clipped, Dr. Mercer. A male voice responded, laced with practiced politeness. Dr. Mercer, this is Deputy Commissioner Stroud. I understand you're considering filing a complaint about an officer's conduct. Yes, she said. I want to strongly advise against it until we have all facts. Officer Hale's initial report raises concerns about your corporation. She closed her eyes. His report is false. We'll review everything, Stroud said. In the meantime, I encourage you to let the process work without adding unnecessary complications. There were witnesses, she stated. Witness recollection can be unreliable, and the hospital administration has not expressed concern. Liana felt the chill of institutional alignment settling around her like ice. Stroud added, consider what escalating this could mean for your career. She didn't answer. The line clicked dead. For several minutes she sat motionless, listening to her own heartbeat, slow at first, then rising, steady, resolute. She opened her laptop, navigated to the internal complaint form, began typing. Every word felt like forcing air into collapsed lungs. When she reached the final line, described the incident, her hand steadied. She pressed submit. The confirmation email arrived instantly. Outside her office, the intercom beeped, summoning her to a critical patient. She stood, straightened her coat, walked out. The noise inside her didn't quiet, but it sharpened, and she did not turn back. The complaint had been filed less than 24 hours when the first tremor hit. Liana was mid-consultation with a patient when her pager vibrated. HR, urgent. She wrapped up quickly, then headed down the corridor. The air felt thicker, like the building itself knew what was coming. Inside the HR office, Assistant Director Selman sat stiffly behind her desk. She didn't smile. Dr. Mercer, please sit. Liana remained standing. What's this about? Selman clasped her hands. We received a call from the police union this morning. A cold current slid down Liana's spine. Selman continued. They expressed concern regarding the complaint you filed. Concern? Liana repeated. Yes. They believe your account is incomplete and that you may have misinterpreted Officer Hale's intent. Liana stared at her. He tried to arrest me for unlocking my own car. Selman swallowed. The union claims you reported a safety threat. That's false. I'm just relaying what they said. Selman held up a thin folder. They insisted this be placed in your employment file until the matter is resolved. Liana's jaw locked. Place as what? A note indicating an ongoing law enforcement dispute. She breathed out slowly. So instead of investigating what he did, they are building a paper trail on me. Selman avoided her eyes. I know this is uncomfortable, but please understand, our hospital has to maintain working relations with the precinct, even at the expense of my safety. Selman didn't respond. Liana left before her voice broke. Outside in the hallway, Dr. Patel intercepted her. You okay? No, she said plainly. He nodded once. Then you need to see this. He pulled out his phone, scrolling. Look. A message thread appeared, screenshots from an officer's group chat. Her name was highlighted in yellow. Mercer was hostile, tried to walk off, had to assert control. Classic attitude case. She'll fold. They always do. Liana forced her breath steady. Where did you get this? Anonymous tip. Someone wants the truth out. She handed the phone back. They are coordinating. Yes, Patel said, and they'll get louder. By late afternoon, her office phone rang again. Dr. Mercer speaking. A gruff female voice replied, Dr. Mercer, this is Sergeant Rowan from the Precinct Professional Standards Division. Liana straightened. I hope this is regarding my complaint. It is, Rowan said, but I need to inform you that Officer Hale has filed a count report. Liana closed her eyes. Of course he has. He alleges that you were verbally aggressive, refused lawful instructions, and attempted to leave the scene while he was performing a security check. That's a lie. I'm required to document both sides, Rowan said. I'll schedule interviews. When? I'll call you. The tone felt final, cold, dismissive. The line went dead. That evening, the threatening calls began. The first was a whisper. You should stop before you ruin your life. She hung up. The second was sharper, male, mocking. Didn't know doctors needed handcuffs to learn respect. She muted the phone. The third didn't speak. Just breathing. Slow. Intentional. She finally switched the device off and sat on her bed, hands clasped tight. Fear pressed in. Not the sharp kind, but the slow, suffocating weight of knowing a system far bigger than one officer had turned its attention on her. A knock sounded on her apartment door. She flinched, then cautiously approached. Who is it? It's Lynn. She opened the door. Lynn held a folder, expression tense. You need to see this. He stepped inside and set the folder on her table. City Liaison sent it to me. Off the record. Inside were printouts, Hale's report, statement from 2 officers backing him, a draft memo suggesting disciplinary review for her unprofessional response to police inquiry. Liana stared at it. They are rewriting the entire incident. That's how they sanitize misconduct, Lynn said quietly. They frame you as unstable, emotional, combative. Makes it easy to discredit your version. She sank into a chair. This is retaliation. Yes. And the hospital will do nothing. Lynn sat across from her. Probably not. She looked up, eyes sharp with exhaustion. Then why are you here? Because someone needs to be. For a moment they sat in wordless stillness. Then Liana said, I'm not withdrawing the complaint. I figured, Lynn replied. So you should know, there's a city official who wants to discuss the situation tomorrow. Discuss? He wants you to consider resolving it quietly, for the good of all parties. His words. Liana let out a brittle laugh. Of course. You don't have to meet him, Lynn added. I do, she said. I need to hear how far they'll go. Lynn studied her. Then be ready. The next morning, Liana walked into the municipal building conference room. City Affairs Officer Tom Benton sat waiting, papers neatly aligned, a politician's smile plastered on. Dr. Mercer, he said warmly, thank you for coming. She sat today. You wanted to talk about my complaint. Yes. Benton folded his hands. We'd like to avoid unnecessary friction with law enforcement. The officer involved claims he acted in good faith. He didn't. I understand your feelings. This isn't about feelings. Benton sighed like he was weary of her existence. Look, the reality is simple. Pursuing this will complicate your career. You're respected here. You have a future. Don't jeopardize it over one misunderstanding. A misunderstanding, she repeated. Is that today's script? Benton leaned back. Think carefully. The union will come at you hard. They already are. I know, she said. And she met his eyes. I'm still moving forward. Benton's smile faded. Then I hope you understand the consequences. I do. She stood, walked out. Her hands were trembling, but her pace did not break. Institutional walls closed around her, tightening, but she pushed through them, step by step, refusing to slow. The backlash had begun, but so had her resolve. The hospital felt different the next morning, quieter, but in a way that hummed with threat. Liana stepped through the sliding doors and immediately sensed how conversation snapped shut around her. The air carried the sharp, metallic tension of an impending storm. At the nurse's station, 2 staff members whispered until they saw her approach. "Morning," she said. They mumbled greetings, eyes flicking away. One of them, a young nurse she often mentored, looked apologetic for even making eye contact. In the cardiology conference room, Dr. Hovland was already waiting, arms folded. "Dr. Mercer," he said, voice clipped, "we need to talk." She set her tablet down. "Make it quick. I have rounds." "This is serious." He gestured for her to sit. She remained standing. Hovland exhaled. "Fine. HR notified me that your complaint against the officer has escalated to an internal review board. This is generating unwanted scrutiny for the hospital." "I'm aware." "And," he continued, tone hardening, "a reporter contacted our communications office this morning asking if we're concerned about your behavior." Liana's stomach tightened. "What behavior?" Hovland held up a printed email. "According to the officer's statement, you were verbally aggressive, uncooperative, and attempted to flee a security inquiry. The reporter asked whether we consider that unprofessional conduct." "That's fiction," she said. "Maybe, but perception shapes narratives. Narratives shape institutional liability. So you want me to back down?" "I want stability," Hovland said, "and your decisions are destabilizing things." Liana stared at him. "My trauma is destabilizing to you, not his racism." Hovland flinched at the word racism, as though hearing it aloud created legal risk. "I'm advising you to consider the bigger picture." "I am," she said. "That's why I filed a complaint." He pursed his lips. "If this continues, we may need to evaluate your leadership role here." She felt the ground shift, quietly, decisively. "Understood," she said, then walked out. On her way to rounds, Patel intercepted her again. "Liana," he whispered urgently, "you need to see this." He handed her his phone. A social media post displayed Officer Hale smiling with his arm around 2 fellow officers, captioned, "Crazy night at the hospital. Some people don't know how to behave. Truth will come out." Hundreds of comments beneath, many hostile. Liana locked the phone. "He's baiting me publicly." Patel sighed. "That's their playbook. Control the narrative before facts can surface." "I won't let him." She walked off before Patel could argue. During her second case of the morning, a knock came at the patient room door. "Dr. Mercer," a security officer asked. Liana stepped into the hallway. "Yes." The guard handed her a sealed envelope. "From Office of Risk Management. Immediate acknowledgement required." She opened it. Notice of conduct review. Allegation: failure to comply with hospital security protocol during after-hours incident. Status: active investigation. Her pulse tightened. The guard added quietly, "I'm sorry. They told me to deliver it directly." "Thank you," she said, though the words tasted metallic. When he left, Lynn approached, face tight. "They're moving fast. They are trying to overwhelm me. You need support." She shook her head. "I need truth." At lunch, Lynn stopped by her office. "You have a visitor in the lobby." "Who?" "Your sister." Liana froze. "She drove all the way here." She looked worried. Liana exhaled, then headed toward the lobby. Her sister Maya stood near the windows, coat still buttoned, eyes full of fire. "Liana," Maya said, pulling her into a tight embrace. "Why didn't you tell me? I didn't want to drag you into this. You think I care about that?" Maya pulled back. "You were almost arrested outside your own workplace, and now the hospital is coming after you." Liana hesitated. "They're reacting." Maya's voice sharpened. "Reacting by threatening your job." A few staff glanced over. Liana lowered her voice. "Please, not here." Maya crossed her arms. "Say the word and I'll call every journalist in the city." No. Why not? Because they'll twist it. They always do. Maya's anger softened. You're shaking. Liana looked down. Her fingers trembled slightly despite the stillness of her body. Maya whispered, You're not alone. I'm staying with you tonight. Liana almost said no, but the exhaustion in her bones said yes. Okay, she murmured. Later that afternoon, Rowan from Professional Standards called again. We'll need you at the precinct tomorrow for a formal interview, Rowan said. Officer Hale will give his statement immediately before yours. Fine. And Dr. Mercer, you should know, Hale has union counsel present. You may want to bring representation. I'll handle it, she said. I strongly recommend legal support. I said I'll handle it. A beat of silence. Very well, Rowan replied. 10 a.m. The call ended. As Liana finished evening rounds, she overheard two junior residents murmuring near the charting station. Isn't she the one who got into it with police? Yeah. Heard, she started yelling. Administration's watching her now. Maybe she's not as stable as she looks. Liana stepped into view. If either of you have questions about what happened, she said calmly, ask me directly, not each other. Both residents flushed. Neither spoke. She walked away before her anger cracked open. That night, Maya sat on the couch flipping through the folder Lynn had left days earlier. They are building a wall around him, Maya said. Reports, statements, counterclaims. And yo. Standing alone, Liana finished. No, Maya said firmly. Not anymore. Liana stared at the window, city lights flickering like distant warnings. The interview's tomorrow. Then we fight tomorrow. A small, sharp breath escaped her, half fear, half resolve. She lay back, letting the weight settle. Tomorrow the system would test her. Tomorrow she would not flinch. The complaint had been filed less than 24 hours when the first tremor hit. Liana was mid-consultation with a patient when her pager vibrated. HR, urgent. She wrapped up quickly, then headed down the corridor. The air felt thicker, like the building itself knew what was coming. Inside the HR office, Assistant Director Selman sat stiffly behind her desk. She didn't smile. Dr. Mercer, please sit. Liana remained standing. What's this about? Selman clasped her hands. We received a call from the police union this morning. A cold current slid down Liana's spine. Selman continued. They expressed concern regarding the complaint you filed. Concern? Liana repeated. Yes. They believe your account is incomplete and that you may have misinterpreted Officer Hale's intent. Liana stared at her. He tried to arrest me for unlocking my own car. Selman swallowed. The union claims you reported a safety threat. That's false. I'm just relaying what they said. Selman held up a thin folder. They insisted this be placed in your employment file until the matter is resolved. Liana's jaw locked. Place as what? A note indicating an ongoing law enforcement dispute. She breathed out slowly. So instead of investigating what he did, they are building a paper trail on me. Selman avoided her eyes. I know this is uncomfortable, but please understand, our hospital has to maintain working relations with the precinct, even at the expense of my safety. Selman didn't respond. Liana left before her voice broke. Outside in the hallway, Dr. Patel intercepted her. You okay? No, she said plainly. He nodded once. Then you need to see this. He pulled out his phone, scrolling. Look. A message thread appeared, screenshots from an officer's group chat. Her name was highlighted in yellow. Mercer was hostile, tried to walk off, had to assert control. Classic attitude case. She'll fold. They always do. Liana forced her breath steady. Where did you get this? Anonymous tip. Someone wants the truth out. She handed the phone back. They are coordinating. Yes, Patel said, and they'll get louder. By late afternoon, her office phone rang again. Dr. Mercer speaking. A gruff female voice replied, Dr. Mercer, this is Sergeant Rowan from the Precinct Professional Standards Division. Liana straightened. I hope this is regarding my complaint. It is, Rowan said, but I need to inform you that Officer Hale has filed a count report. Liana closed her eyes. Of course he has. He alleges that you were verbally aggressive, refused lawful instructions, and attempted to leave the scene while he was performing a security check. That's a lie. I'm required to document both sides, Rowan said. I'll schedule interviews. When? I'll call you. The tone felt final, cold, dismissive. The line went dead. That evening, the threatening calls began. The first was a whisper. You should stop before you ruin your life. She hung up. The second was sharper, male, mocking. Didn't know doctors needed handcuffs to learn respect. She muted the phone. The third didn't speak. Just breathing. Slow. Intentional. She finally switched the device off and sat on her bed, hands clasped tight. Fear pressed in. Not the sharp kind, but the slow, suffocating weight of knowing a system far bigger than one officer had turned its attention on her. A knock sounded on her apartment door. She flinched, then cautiously approached. Who is it? It's Lynn. She opened the door. Lynn held a folder, expression tense. You need to see this. He stepped inside and set the folder on her table. City Liaison sent it to me. Off the record. Inside were printouts, Hale's report, statement from 2 officers backing him, a draft memo suggesting disciplinary review for her unprofessional response to police inquiry. Liana stared at it. They're rewriting the entire incident. That's how they sanitize misconduct, Lynn said quietly. They frame you as unstable, emotional, combative, makes it easy to discredit your version. She sank into a chair. This is retaliation. Yes. And the hospital will do nothing. Lynn sat across from her. Probably not. She looked up, eyes sharp with exhaustion. Then why are you here? Because someone needs to be. For a moment they sat in wordless stillness. Then Liana said, I'm not withdrawing the complaint. I figured, Lynn replied. So you should know. There's a city official who wants to discuss the situation tomorrow. Discuss? He wants you to consider resolving it quietly, for the good of all parties. His words. Liana let out a brittle laugh. Of course. You don't have to meet him, Lynn added. I do, she said. I need to hear how far they'll go. Lynn studied her. Then be ready. The next morning, Liana walked into the municipal building conference room. City Affairs Officer Tom Benton sat waiting, papers neatly aligned, a politician's smile plastered on. Dr. Mercer, he said warmly, thank you for coming. She sat today. You wanted to talk about my complaint. Yes. Benton folded his hands. We'd like to avoid unnecessary friction with law enforcement. The officer involved claims he acted in good faith. He didn't. I understand your feelings. This isn't about feelings. Benton sighed like he was weary of her existence. Look, the reality is simple. Pursuing this will complicate your career. You're respected here. You have a future. Don't jeopardize it over one misunderstanding. A misunderstanding, she repeated. Is that today's script? Benton leaned back. Think carefully. The union will come at you hard. They already are. I know, she said. And she met his eyes. I'm still moving forward. Benton's smile faded. Then I hope you understand the consequences. I do. She stood, walked out. Her hands were trembling, but her pace did not break. Institutional walls closed around her, tightening, but she pushed through them, step by step, refusing to slow. The backlash had begun, but so had her resolve. The conference room felt colder than the hallway. Fluorescent light hummed overhead, sharp and merciless, bright enough to show every crease in Officer Reddick's clenched jaw and every tremor in Dr. Mora's hands as she placed a folder on the table. The oversight official, Director Helena Cruz, shut the door behind her with a soft click that sounded more final than a gavel. Everyone sit, she ordered. Reddick dropped into a chair, stiff as stone. Amora sat opposite him, her breath forcing its way past a tightness in her chest. Cruz opened a digital tablet. This meeting is now under formal review procedure. Officer Reddick, you will speak only when addressed. Reddick scoffed under his breath. You people always. Cruz didn't even look up. Officer, that is your first warning. Silence. Amora steadied herself. The table felt too large between them, as if it were deliberately built to hold confrontation. Her pulse thudded in her ears, but she forced her voice to remain calm. Cruz leaned forward. Dr. Amora, start at the beginning. Everything. Amora unfolded her notes. He stopped me in the parking lot, she said. No reason given. No probable cause. He demanded my ID, twice, after I already showed him my government badge. Cruz typed, verbally described the tone he used. He implied the badge wasn't mine. Her throat tightened. He said people like me borrow things. Reddick exhaled sharply. That's not. That is your second warning, Cruz snapped. Amora continued. He blocked me from entering the building. He told me to stay where he could see me. I informed him I had a meeting. He refused to let me pass. When I reached for my phone to call security, he put his hand on his weapon. Cruz stopped typing. Slowly, deliberately, he touched his weapon. Yes. The room seemed to freeze. Even the hum of the lights felt muted. Cruz turned her gaze to Reddick. Why? I felt threatened, he said flatly. She was being aggressive. Amora stared at him. I was standing still. You raised your voice. I explained that I work here, she said, that I oversee federal health operations, that I had clearance. You treated me like someone who wasn't supposed to be here, he said, shrugging. You people lie all the time. The words hung there, heavy, toxic, undeniable. Cruz's expression hardened. Officer Reddick, thank you for stating that on record. Reddick blinked. On what? Amora watched him pale. For the first time since the encounter began, the fear wasn't his. Cruz tapped her tablet, playing back an audio clip. Reddick's voice filled the room. You people always try this. Badges don't mean anything when they are stolen. He froze. You are recorded, he breathed. Cruz raised an eyebrow. Every interaction within 20 feet of this building's perimeter is automatically logged, including yours. She flipped to another timestamp. And here you are threatening detainment without cause. Amora swallowed. She hadn't known about the recording. She hadn't needed proof to understand what happened, but now the truth was no longer just his. Cruz clasped her hands on the table. Officer Reddick, according to Section 4B of Federal Conduct Code, you engaged in racial profiling, unlawful obstruction, and escalation without threat. Reddick's jaw clenched. You can't. I can, Cruz said, and I will. He turned his glare on Amora. You set me up. She held his gaze, steady this time. I walked into work. Don't act innocent. You could have just done what I said. I did, she replied quietly, and it still wasn't enough. The truth of that made something bare and hot behind her ribs. All the humiliation, the fear, the quiet rage. Finally, someone else saw it. Cruz continued her evaluation. Officer Reddick, there will be an immediate suspension pending full investigation. Turn in your badge before leaving the building. The color drained from his face. This is ridiculous. She's playing you. Amora felt a tremor run up her arm. She curled her fingers into a fist beneath the table. Cruz closed the tablet. Meeting adjourned. She stood. Reddick didn't move. You're ruining my career over misunderstanding. This is not a misunderstanding, Cruz said. This is misconduct. He leaned forward, eyes narrow. You think she deserves special treatment because she claims to be someone. Amora inhaled sharply. Claims? Cruz's gaze drifted to her. Dr. Amora, would you like to answer that? Amora felt something settle in her chest. Not quite peace, but clarity. I don't want special treatment, she said. I want the same respect anyone else gets when they walk through that door. The room went still. Cruz nodded, as if confirming something that had been waiting to be named. Officer Reddick, she doesn't claim anything. Cruz took out a printed document, Placing it in front of him, Dr. Amorandil is a director of the National Health Agency. Reddick's jaw slackened. She's what? Amora held his stare. The agency you accuse me of breaking into? I run it. He opened his mouth, then closed it again, no excuse forming fast enough to hide behind. Cruz moved toward the door. Officer, security will escort you out. 2 guards stepped in. Reddick's chair screeched as he was pulled to his feet. This isn't over, he growled. Amora didn't flinch. It's the first time it ever was. As he was led out, his boots scraping the floor, something inside her finally unwound. Not relief, too early for that, but the grip of fear loosened, inch by inch. Cruz approached her. Are you all right? Amora nodded, though she wasn't entirely sure it was true. You handled yourself with restraint, Cruz said. More than most would. Amora exhaled. Thank you for listening. That's my job, Cruz replied. But this isn't finished. There will be interviews, statements, and internal hearing. Amora tightened her grip on her folder. I'll be ready. Cruz paused before leaving. And Dr. Amora, you being in that position, it matters. More than you know. The door shut. Amora remained seated, the silence finally soft, no longer weaponized. Her reflection stared back at her in the blank screen of Cruz's tablet. Tired, shaken, but upright. She whispered into the quiet room, I'm not done either. When Dr. Amora stepped out of the conference room, she expected silence. Instead, she walked into noise. Dozens of staff stood scattered across the hallway, some pretending to read files, some pretending not to stare, and some not pretending at all. The incident had already become a pulse moving through the building, a whisper shaping itself into a story. A young intern froze when he saw her. Then he straightened his posture. Dr. Amora, are you okay? She forced a small nod. I'm fine. She wasn't. Her hands still tingled with leftover adrenaline, and her throat felt like she'd swallowed smoke. But she walked forward, spine straight, step steady. The hallway widened as people shifted aside for her, which never happened before. For a moment it didn't feel like respect. It felt like distance. Her phone buzzed. Marcus. She answered quietly. Hey. His voice rushed through the speaker, frantic. I heard. Are you all right? Do I need to come there? I'm okay, she whispered, glancing at the onlookers. It's handled. That's not what it looks like online, Marcus said. Her footsteps faltered. Online? Yeah. Someone recorded the officer raising his voice at you outside. It's spreading. He paused. Amora, your name is trending. A cold wave washed over her. The internet didn't know context. It didn't pause to breathe. It didn't care about the truth. Do they know who I am? She asked. No, Marcus said. Not yet, but they're guessing. Her heart hammered. Send me the link, she said. No, don't look at it while you're still in the building. I need to see, she insisted. Marcus exhaled. Fine, but please, don't read the comments. The link appeared seconds later. She clicked it. There she was, standing in the parking lot, trying to walk past the officer. His voice thundered through the phone speaker. You don't get to walk past me. You stay right here. And her voice, low, embarrassed. Officer, please. I work here. The clip ended right before he reached for his weapon. A whisper behind her broke the moment. Is that her? Yeah, that's definitely her. She turned. 2 employees looked away too quickly. Amora locked her phone and continued walking, feeling the weight of every stare. As she neared her office, her assistant, Kara, jumped to her feet. Dr. Amora, I'm so sorry. I didn't know what was happening until security started rushing around. It's all right, Amora said. No, it's not. Kara's voice cracked. I'm your assistant. I should have been there. You couldn't have stopped him, Amora replied gently. Kara swallowed. Still, I wish you'd had someone beside you. That hit harder than she expected. Amora entered her office. The door closed softly behind her, but the world outside kept roaring. She sank into her chair, palms flat against the desk. She had spent years building her reputation, stone by stone, presentation by presentation, policy by policy, and in 15 minutes of racial profiling, her credibility, her position, her sense of safety had been shaken like dust in the wind. Her office phone rang. She hesitated, then answered. "Dr. Mora." It was Director Cruz. "I want you to know that a full internal probe is already in motion. His suspension begins today." "Thank you." "But," Cruz continued, "the footage went public. You should prepare for media contact." Amora felt her pulse quicken. I didn't post anything." "We know," Cruz said. "Someone else did." She paused. "I need you to understand something. Cases like this, they rarely stay quiet, and the world is watching how we respond." Amora closed her eyes. "Understood." Cruz's voice softened a little. "Take a moment if you need to. Your schedule for today has been cleared." Amora hung up and sat still for a long time. The office felt too quiet, too clean, too small for the storm building outside. A knock sounded at the door. "Come in." Marcus stepped inside, breathless, eyes scanning her face. "I drove over." Amora stood too quickly, the legs of her chair scraping. "You didn't have to." "Yes," he said. "I did." For a heartbeat, she let herself lean into him, her forehead resting against his chest. His arms wrapped around her, steady and grounding. "I thought I was overreacting," she whispered. But when he touched his weapon, "I thought—" "I know." Marcus's voice shook. "I know." She stepped back, wiping her cheek. "I hate that this is news. I hate that people are turning this into something to argue about." "That's not on you," he said. "It still lands on me." Marcus pulled out his phone. "Reporters are gathering outside the building. Some are already asking whether the Federal Health Agency hid the director's involvement." Amora felt her stomach twist. "I didn't hide anything." "Racism doesn't care," he replied. "It just looks for angles." A new knock. Kara peeked in. "Dr. Amora, the Deputy Secretary is asking for you. He wants a briefing on what happened." Amora stiffened. "Now?" "Yes. He says it can't wait." Marcus squeezed her hand. "You don't have to go unshaken." She inhaled deeply, lifting her chin. "I'm not shaken." She was. But she wasn't going to walk into that room looking like it. As she left her office, Marcus walked beside her until security signaled he couldn't follow. She paused, looked back at him, and whispered, "Stay close. I may need you." "Always," he said. She stepped toward the elevator. The door slid open. Inside the mirror panel, she saw a reflection, tired, tense, but standing like someone who wasn't going to be pushed down again. As the doors closed, the sound of reporters shouting from outside reached the hall, muffled, distant, but growing. And Dr. Amora knew. Dr. Amora walked into the glass-wall briefing room of the Federal Liaison Office. The walls refracted sunlight into shards across the polished floor. Every step felt amplified, as if the building itself knew the storm she carried inside. Deputy Secretary Julian Hartman stood behind the conference table, arms folded, a folder lying in front of him. His expression was neutral, but the tightness around his eyes betrayed a careful calculation. "Dr. Mora," Hartman said, voice clipped, "thank you for coming so promptly." "I came as soon as I could," she replied. "You wanted details." He gestured toward the folder. "Yes. Officer Reddick's actions have escalated beyond a simple precinct complaint. Your testimony, combined with video and witness statements, has made this a citywide concern." Amora opened her folder and laid out the chronological sequence of events. Each interaction with Reddick, every verbal escalation, every threatened move with his weapon, meticulously documented. "I've included timestamps, security footage references, and witness names," she said. "Every detail that proves this wasn't an isolated misunderstanding." Hartman scanned the papers, then looked up. "You've done your due diligence. And yet, the press is already framing this as a confrontation rather than misconduct." Amora's jaw tightened. "Because the story is easier to twist than to explain." Exactly, Hartman said. And you are now in the spotlight whether you like it or not. How do you wish to proceed? Amora exhaled slowly. Truth first. Transparency second. I'm not hiding behind procedure or fear. If it takes going public to make this clear, then I'll do it. A sharp knock interrupted the conversation. An aide entered, holding a tablet. Sir, the press outside has received a tip. They are demanding a statement from the agency director herself. They've started posting live clips. Amora's pulse jumped. Live? Yes. Video of yesterday's parking lot encounter. The officer speaking. Your voice pleading for recognition. It's circulating fast. She clenched her fists. They framed me as the aggressor already. Hartman shook his head. Not entirely. The video shows restraint on your part. The narrative is split, but this will get messy. Amora opened the tablet herself. The clips streamed across the screen. Flashes of metal, shouts, a hand reaching for her badge. Comments flooded in. Speculation, judgment, racial undertones thinly veiled as civility. Her reflection in the tablet's black border stared back, composed, determined, angry. She spoke aloud, though to no one in particular. This is about more than me. This is about everyone who gets silenced, dismissed, or harassed in the name of power. Hartman leaned forward. Do you understand the stakes? Officer Reddick is already backed by the union. They will attempt counterstatements, smear campaigns, and procedural traps. I understand, Amora said, and I'll counter every one of them with facts, not anger, procedure, not vengeance. Hartman's face softened slightly. Good. That approach will protect both your credibility and the agency. But you must be ready for personal attacks. A faint beep interrupted them. Amora's phone vibrated. Marcus. She glanced down. A text. Simple. You're about to walk into fire. I'm outside. She typed back. I'll need you. Marcus's response came immediately. Always. Hartman's assistant spoke up. Dr. Amora, there's a press waiting area set up. Legal counsel has prepared a brief, but you will be addressing them directly. She nodded. I won't evade responsibility. Or truth. He handed her the folder again. Inside, you'll find talking points. Focus on the facts, your role, and procedural misconduct. Emphasize accountability. Avoid personal attacks, no matter the provocation. Amora skimmed the pages. Every word precise. Every example factual. Yet she knew she'd speak from more than words. She'd speak from experience. She left the room, walking toward the rear exit that led to the press staging area. Security flanked her discreetly. Reporters murmured in anticipation. Cameras focused, microphones extended. A photographer whispered, That's her, the director. She inhaled, shoulders straight. The sun glinted off her badge. No one could mistake the authority she carried. Not yesterday. Not now. Marcus stood near the edge of the crowd, hand gripping the strap of his bag, eyes tracking her like a lighthouse beam in the storm. She gave him a quick nod. The first question came fast. Dr. Amora, did you provoke the officer? Her voice cut clean, deliberate. No, I did not provoke anyone. I was performing my duties, as authorized. What occurred was misconduct on his part, documented and verifiable. Another reporter pressed. But why did the encounter escalate? Amora held their gaze evenly. Because of assumptions based on race. Because of abuse of authority. These are patterns, not isolated incidents. I'm here to ensure accountability, not to create spectacle. The questions continued. Each one sharpened the edges of truth. Each answer she gave reframed the narrative. The focus was not a perceived aggression. It was the officer's violation of duty. Behind the cameras, Marcus watched, his expression unreadable, steady. The final question came, low and deliberate. Dr. Amora, do you feel safe walking into your own workplace now? She paused, letting the weight of every previous humiliation, every whispered judgment, every threat, resonate in the silence before she spoke. I feel safe because the system can still work if we insist on accountability. And if it doesn't, then it must be changed. I will not allow fear to dictate my actions or my duty. The microphones clicked off. Cameras lowered. Murmurs rippled through the press, but the authority she radiated was undeniable. For the first time in 2 days, the air around her felt less like pressure and more like space. Space to breathe, space to act, space to move forward. The spotlight was on her now, and she would not falter. The next morning, Dr. Amora arrived at the agency headquarters earlier than usual. The building felt alive with tension. Employees whispered in corners, voices halting when she passed. Some stared openly, some avoided her gaze entirely. The incident with Officer Reddick had broken the usual rhythm, scattering caution like shards across the halls. Her office phone rang. It was legal counsel, Mara Devine. Dr. Mara said, voice clipped. The union has responded. They are challenging the suspension and requesting a formal arbitration hearing. They are citing procedural overreach. Amora exhaled. They are trying to reclaim narrative control. Mara sighed. Yes, and it's going public fast. Press outlets are already running op-eds debating the officer's credibility versus your account. I expected nothing less, Amara said. Arrange for the internal review board to convene immediately. Every witness, every timestamp, every document we have should be present. We will, but Mara hesitated. Brace yourself. There will be pushback. Some employees may be hesitant to testify. Some may be pressured to give misleading statements. Amora's jaw clenched. Then we'll account for that too. By mid-morning, the internal review board assembled. Cruz sat at the head, flanked by HR representatives, legal advisors, and a compliance officer. Reddick was present, his union counsel at his side. Amora entered last, holding her folder tightly. Cruz gestured for her to sit. Dr. Amora, you may begin. She cleared her throat. I will provide a detailed account of the incident, supported by video, witness statements, and security logs. I ask that this board focus on factual evidence rather than speculation or assumption. Reddick scoffed. This is harassment, plain and simple. Objection noted, Cruz said, voice firm. Proceed, Dr. Amora. Amora took a deep breath. She walked through every step, exiting her car, the officer's demands, the threats, the way he touched his weapon, her attempts to stay calm. She presented every timestamp, every email chain, every colleague who could corroborate her story. 2 junior security officers spoke after her testimony. We observed him raising his voice and approaching Dr. Mora aggressively. One said, it did not appear she was doing anything other than standing still and attempting to comply. Another officer added, his tone and actions escalated without any observable provocation on her part. We felt uncomfortable intervening because of the officer's rank. Reddick's union counsel interjected. Unreliable. Their recollections are subjective. Cruz cut him off. All testimony will be recorded. Subjectivity is acknowledged but will be weighed against video and documented evidence. Amora remained silent as the board reviewed. Each document they examined, each clip they replayed, chipped away at the officer's constructed narrative. Finally, Cruz spoke. Based on the evidence, Officer Reddick's conduct violates multiple departmental protocols, including misuse of authority and racial profiling. Immediate disciplinary measures are warranted. Reddick's face went pale. This can't stand. Stand it will, Cruz said. The suspension is maintained pending full disciplinary review. Further infractions or retaliation against Dr. Amora will result in termination. Amora exhaled slowly, relief tempered by exhaustion. She had expected this resistance. She had expected the struggle. But hearing it declared officially was a weight lifting, not a release. Later, in her office, Marcus arrived. He stepped inside, eyes scanning for signs of strain. How did it go? She leaned back in her chair, rubbing her temples. The evidence was too strong. They had no choice but to acknowledge misconduct. But it's only the beginning. The union will fight this every step of the way. He sat down beside her. And you'll be ready. Yes, she said. I've learned that fear doesn't protect me. Only documentation, truth, and persistence do. A soft knock interrupted them. Kara entered. Dr. Amora, staff are asking if they can speak with you openly now. They want guidance, clarity. She nodded. Yes, they need to see that integrity matters, that compliance with justice isn't optional. One by one, employees came forward. They spoke hesitantly at first, then more openly. They described times they'd witnessed subtle bias, microaggressions, dismissive behavior. Amora listened carefully, taking notes, ensuring each voice was acknowledged and recorded. By evening, the building felt different. The whispers persisted, but there was a new undertone: recognition, accountability, hope. Marcus stood by the window, watching her. "You've shifted something today," he said quietly. Amora turned, eyes tired but bright. "No, Marcus, I've only started. This system isn't broken for just me. It's broken for everyone like me." He nodded. "Then you'll fix it." She shook her head slightly. "I won't fix it alone, but I will make sure it can't ignore me again." Outside, the city's lights flickered against the darkening sky. Somewhere, the press continued to circulate snippets. The public debated. The union strategized. Inside, Dr. Morris sat upright, hands folded, steady. She was still in the fight, still exposed, still carrying the weight of resistance. But for the first time, she felt the power of standing unflinching in the truth. And she knew the reckoning had only just begun. The city was alive with murmurs by the next morning. News outlets had begun piecing together yesterday's incident, the footage going viral across social media and televised news segments. Dr. Amora walked through the agency headquarters with the awareness that every step, every glance, was now under scrutiny, not just from the public, but from colleagues, journalists, and the network of officials who had watched her struggle unfold. Her assistant, Kara, intercepted her in the hallway. "Dr. Amora, the press is requesting interviews." Some are outside the building, waiting. Amora exhaled, steadying herself. "I'll handle it, but I'm going to speak the truth, not the narrative." Kara nodded. "Understood." She reached the lobby. Cameras, microphones, and flashes greeted her like a tidal wave. Reporters jostled for position. Questions shouted simultaneously. "Dr. Amora, did you feel threatened? Why didn't you call for security? Do you think Officer Reddick acted with racial bias?" Amora's calm voice cut through the chaos. "Yes, I was threatened. I was performing my duties. And yes, Officer Reddick acted in a way that constitutes racial profiling and abuse of authority." A reporter pushed further. "Dr. Amora, some argue the footage is inconclusive. How do you respond?" Amora held her gaze steady. "The footage is not a matter of opinion. It is documentation. And documentation confirms my account. Officer Reddick's actions were unprovoked and unlawful." A wave of murmurs ran through the press. Another reporter raised a question. Why go public now, instead of resolving it quietly? She took a breath. Quiet resolution would have perpetuated injustice. Silence protect the perpetrator, not the victim. The truth must be seen, heard, and acknowledged. Cameras clicked. Microphones leaned closer. One journalist asked pointedly, "Dr. Amora, do you fear retaliation from the officer or the union?" "I do not fear truth," she said. "I fear what happens when misconduct is ignored. The consequences of inaction are far greater than standing upright in the face of challenge." The crowd fell momentarily silent. Her words weren't dramatic. They were matter-of-fact, unyielding. Back inside the agency, Marcus observed from the lobby. His eyes tracked her movements as she navigated questions, keeping her composure. He whispered to Kara, "She's commanding this room without raising her voice." Kara nodded, because she knows the stakes and doesn't let them define her. Meanwhile, Cruz entered, having arrived to oversee the press engagement. She stayed in the background, approving of the measured yet assertive way Amora controlled the narrative. After an hour, the press slowly retreated, scribbling notes, recording clips, their murmurs still buzzing through the lobby. Amora returned to her office, feeling a mix of exhaustion and resolve. Marcus followed, catching her just inside the door. "You were incredible," he said quietly. Amora slumped into her chair, hands gripping the edge of the desk. "It's not about being incredible. It's about being consistent. Every fact verified, every statement precise. The story can't be twisted if the foundation is unshakable." Marcus studied her face. You made them listen. Yes, she whispered, but listening doesn't mean justice. That comes later. Her phone buzzed. A notification from legal counsel Mara Devine. Union has filed for expedited arbitration. Full media coverage increasing. You may be contacted by city officials and federal oversight. Prepare for interviews, deposition tomorrow. Amora stared at the message. She could feel the pressure mounting, but she let the weight anchor her rather than crush her. Kara entered with a file. Dr. Amora, staff statements are coming in. Many corroborate your account of misconduct, harassment, and racial bias. This will strengthen your position during arbitration. Amora glanced at the file. Pages of notes, emails, and video transcripts. Her breath steadied. Good. Every statement counts. Every truth matters. A knock at the door preceded Director Cruz's entrance. Dr. Amora, Cruz said, tone serious. The attention this has drawn means we have allies now. Oversight agencies, city officials. They are watching. They know the misconduct is documented. You've shifted the balance. Amora's fingers traced the edge of the desk. And Reddick? Will he truly face consequences? Cruz nodded. Yes. The internal board, combined with the public exposure, leaves him no room to maneuver. The union can appeal, but his misconduct is indisputable now. Accountability is inevitable. Amora allowed herself a small breath. Not relief, not triumph. Just a steady inhale, the first in days that didn't feel like preparation for attack. Marcus stepped closer. This is bigger than just yesterday. You're setting a precedent. I know, she said quietly, and that's why I cannot falter. Not now, not ever. Cruz lingered at the door. You've given voice to everyone who has been silenced. That's a real impact here. Keep the focus on truth, procedure, and fairness. That is unassailable. Amora nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle into resolve. The media, the union, the public, none of it mattered if the truth remained steadfast and uncompromised. The phone buzzed again. Another notification. An email from a city oversight committee requesting her testimony tomorrow. She didn't flinch. Her eyes went to the city skyline outside her office window. The world was watching, and she was ready, because this time she would not just respond. She would lead. She whispered under her breath, almost herself, truth will not be silenced. The courtroom was stark, cold, and humming with quiet anticipation. Officer Reddick sat at one side, shoulders stiff, union counsel whispering in his ear. On the other side, Dr. Amora, flanked by a legal team, carried herself with the same unyielding composure she had displayed in every confrontation since the incident. The judge entered, gavel in hand, eyes scanning the room like a predator measuring its prey. This hearing addresses allegations of misconduct, abuse of authority, and racial profiling against Officer Reddick. All parties are present and accounted for. Yes, Your Honor, the court clerk replied. Reddick's counsel spoke first, attempting to frame the encounter as a misunderstanding. The officer acted in accordance with security protocol, he argued. Any perception of bias is incidental. My client maintains he responded to perceived aggression. Amora's attorney interrupted, voice precise and calm. Your Honor, the claim of perceived aggression is directly contradicted by documented video, witness testimony, and multiple security logs. Dr. Amora was stationary throughout, attempting to comply with the officer's instructions. The officer's escalation was unprovoked and unlawful. The judge nodded, reviewing evidence as the attorney laid out every timestamp, every statement from colleagues and security staff, every recorded threat of the officer's weapon. Reddick shifted uncomfortably in his seat. His bravado was cracking under the weight of undeniable proof. The first witness called was one of the junior security officers. I observed Officer Reddick raising his voice unnecessarily. The officer testified. He approached Dr. Amora aggressively. It seemed unwarranted. I felt unsafe witnessing it. Another staff member added, I heard him make racially charged comments, implying she did not belong here. It was humiliating, and I feared for Dr. Amora's safety. Reddick's union counsel tried to object. The judge waved him down. Proceed. Amora sat silently, absorbing each testimony. Her hands were folded in her lap, yet a quiet satisfaction began to form. Truth, finally, was being recognized on official terms. When it was her turn, she rose, voice steady. I am here because accountability matters. Misconduct must be addressed, not hidden behind authority or union protection. I stand not only for myself, but for anyone who could be silenced or intimidated by the misuse of power. Every detail I provide is factual, documented, and supported by evidence. The courtroom remained silent. Her words were not dramatic, they were declarative, powerful in their certainty. The hearing lasted hours. Each piece of evidence, every witness statement, every recorded clip built a wall around the truth. Reddick's defenses eroded. The union's attempts at character deflection faltered. Finally, the judge leaned forward, gavel raised. After reviewing all evidence and testimony, it is clear Officer Reddick engaged in repeated misconduct, including racial profiling, abuse of authority, and intimidation of a federal official. His actions constitute violations meriting immediate termination and disciplinary review. This court finds in favor of Dr. Morando and upholds her claims of misconduct. Reddick's face went pale, lips pressed thin. The gavel hit again, echoing in the room. Amora exhaled, a slow release of tension. Justice had been served, but it did not erase the exhaustion, the fear, or the trauma she had endured. Outside the courthouse, Marcus met her. His hand found Hayes instinctively. It's over, he said. It's not, she replied softly. It's only the beginning. Systems don't change overnight. He squeezed her hand. But you changed something today, and the world knows it. Amora allowed herself a faint smile. The press swarmed, cameras flashing, microphones extended. She answered questions concisely, facts over emotion. The ruling affirms that abuse of authority and racial bias will not be tolerated. Accountability is not optional. Justice is procedural, documented, and enforceable. Reporters jotted notes. Voices murmured approval. Some nodding, others silent, recognizing the magnitude of what had transpired. Back in her office that evening, the weight of the last 10 days pressed down. She slumped into her chair, exhausted. Marcus sat beside her, hand brushing her hair from her face. They'll still try to undermine you, he said. Media spins, union appeals, gossip. I know, she whispered. I'll be vigilant. I'll be tired, but I'll keep standing. Her assistant, Kara, entered quietly. Dr. Amora, staff have been asking how they can help. They want training, guidance, to prevent this from happening again. Amora nodded, weary but resolute. We'll build protocols, accountability checks, clear reporting, education. Every voice matters, every incident logged, nothing ignored. We start now. Cruz called shortly after, voice firm but approving. Dr. Amora, the board and oversight agencies are preparing a public statement acknowledging the ruling. You set precedent for transparency and integrity. This will ripple across departments, across cities. Amora closed her eyes. Ripple, not a wave, not revolution overnight, but progress. Incremental, deliberate, undeniable. Later that night, she sat alone in her office, looking out at the city skyline. The lights flickered like stars, distant and constant. The fight had left marks, anxiety in her chest, tension in her shoulders, the ghost of fear lingering. But she also felt a quiet power, the knowledge that standing unflinching in the truth had shifted the balance, if only slightly. Marcus stepped into the room, silent. She didn't need to speak. He understood. She whispered into the night, not for him, not for anyone else, but for herself. I survived. I persisted. I prevailed, but the work continues. And with that, Dr. Morando closed her eyes for a moment, letting exhaustion and determination coexist, knowing that justice had been achieved, but at a cost, and that vigilance would remain forever necessary. The world outside still challenged her, but inside she had reclaimed power, dignity, and truth. And that was a beginning.